This is the Play and See podcast, coming at you with an episode. This will be out Tuesday, probably around 6 o'clock Eastern. Hope everyone's doing well. Today on this lovely episode, have another football recap coming at you, joined by AJ. We used to work together. Very knowledgeable football guy. Great to chop it up with him. Appreciate you, AJ, for pulling up. As always, if you're not already, make sure you are liking, subscribing, whether that's, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube comments really help us. Instagram, Twitter, anything to really grow the brand. We took a little hiatus there just because things got a little busy, and then the holidays and, life just kind of happens. Then I got strep throat and, these things just happen. Anyway, got a great episode for y'all. Make sure you stay for the entire thing. And you know what? Whoever reviews the podcast on Apple Podcasts, and you can verify that it was you who did it. Little surprise for y'all. So hit us up, whether it's one of our hosts or on one of our Instagrams. Hit us up. Anyway, enjoy the episode. Peace. And we're back. Joining me for this lovely NFL recap, AJ, my good man. How are you doing today, AJ?
Doing good. I don't know if I've ever heard "lovely" before, but I'm doing good, man.
I got it from American Dad. Shout out Roger the Alien.
Oh, there you go. Doing all right, man. Doing all right today.
Glad to hear it. So let's get right into it. Our last NFL sort of blanket pod. We started off with MVP, and I think that's a really good place to start off here. So, right now, let me get 3 MVPs from you. Who you got?
All right. I think I only need one.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you my other ones. I think you probably know what I'm going to say. I think Jonathan Taylor's got to be, in my opinion, theoretically, ideologically, should be the front runner for MVP.
Mm-hmm.
I know very well why he probably won't get it. But I think that he's just playing so damn well right now.
Mm-hmm.
Ridiculously well. I think that guy deserves all the awards at the end of the year. But then again, I'll give you my realistic pick. I think Tom Brady is going to somehow pull it off. That piece of shit is going to win another one. It's a quarterback trophy. It's a quarterback award. He's putting up way better stats than anybody. Their team's finally looking okay again. Getting moderately healthy. And I think I mentioned this before. I still think Matt Stafford, despite his November slump, I really think Matt Stafford should be in the conversation for some of the similar reasons I just said. It's a quarterback award. I think those are probably my top 3 leaders right now. I wish I could throw a defender in there, but I know it's just never going to happen.
Yeah, I completely agree. Brady and Jonathan Taylor right now are sort of, I don't know if they're ahead of the pack, but they're certainly getting shit done for their teams, and they sort of seem head and shoulders above the others at their positions. I really would love to throw Lamar in here, but after this, he's now had 3 games this season where he's kind of just taking a shit. So I can't really include him anymore. Matthew Stafford, another good inclusion. I think, with Stafford, it just kind of seems that these past couple seasons, he's electric for the first 8 to 10 weeks, and then, he gets injured or, teammates get hurt. And I think he's definitely dealing with a bunch of little nicks and knacks right now, at least, physically. I think that has definitely led to a decline in play. As somebody who starts Stafford for fantasy football, Stafford, Matthew, I do hope you get better. Before, in a similar vein to the Lamar thing, I would love to throw Josh Allen in this category too, but it kind of kind of had a stinker, another stinker against the Patriots. Now, granted, weather, blah blah blah, this, that, and the third, but I don't know. And one other name,
He outplayed Mac Jones like crazy though.
Oh, he,
I could have probably had better stats than Mac Jones in that game, but
you probably could have, yeah. 3 pass attempts is pretty nutty, but hey, shit worked. One last candidate I want to throw in your face here. Aaron Jones. Jeez, wrong. Aaron Rodgers. What do you think about that?
He's putting up fantastic stats again this year. I mean, very stereotypical Aaron Rodgers season.
Mm-hmm.
He's only had 4 interceptions on the entire year. I don't know. I think when he missed that game, it really kind of showed how much he really means to that team.
Mm-hmm.
Politics and personality aside, he's playing good football right now.
Yeah, I don't think the writers will ever give it to him after this. I think there are too many people who are like, fuck that guy. And I get it. I'm not excusing at all. Yeah.
Football, take it for what it is. Take it all out. Kind of got to separate everything. Like, yeah, the dude maybe kind of sucks, but it's just kind of what it is. I think he's playing good, but I just see so many other quarterbacks putting up way better numbers than him that I have a hard time justifying it, to be honest.
Yeah, I got you. And the thing is, we're so late in the season. There's just not that many MVP frontrunners. I don't know.
That's why I think it's so obvious that there's 2.
Yeah.
It's the 2 standing out. Tom Brady and Jonathan Taylor, I think, is making that much more of putting that much more of an emphasis on those 2. One, because of Jonathan Taylor's playing fantastic. It's been a while since the running backs played this good, not named Derrick Henry. And 2, just Tom Brady's so fucking old. The fact that he's doing this is still. I hate the guy, but I respect
it. It's so. Yeah, it's so hard to be like, even as somebody who's in division with him. I'm a Saints fan, for those who don't know. Seeing the Bucks win week after week, you're like, God damn it, stop it.
I mean, that's how I was for years as a Colts fan when he was with the Patriots. It's just so frustrating. And now the Patriots and Tom Brady are both separately doing good. So that's a little doubly frustrating.
Yeah, it's like, oh, all right, cool, fuck you. Like, no need for that, but thank you. Thanks, Tom. Yeah. So moving on, who right now is your coach of the year, AJ?
I think the last time we did this was after the 4-week mark, right? I definitely think I said Cliff Kingsbury. No, you're good. I think I mentioned Cliff Kingsbury. They're still like the top record in the NFL right now. But he missed some time. I think he only missed a game, but they still look good without him. They look fantastic without Kyler. I think that's more of a testament to this team than it is to him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think there's only one clear answer. I think it's got to be Bill Belichick. Like, when was the last time we've seen somebody do this well with a rookie quarterback? But he threw the ball 3 damn times last night, and they still found a way to win. He's just showing exactly why he's regarded as probably the best coach for such a long time.
Yeah. No, I think it's so hard to not say that Belichick is number one, because I'm not sure anyone's doing more with less right now. You go down the line, you look at, the division leaders, the Ravens, yeah, they're fine, but you have Lamar Jackson, who's an MVP. Chiefs, you have the best offense maybe ever created just over the past 5 years. Cowboys,
they weren't even doing that good beforehand.
They weren't.
Started playing okay now.
Yeah, which honestly horrifies me. They've won 5 in a row, and it's like, I don't know. I woke up the other day and I was like, Chiefs have won 5 in a row. When the fuck did that happen?
Well, there's someone who has a better record, better winning streak than that.
Yeah, right.
Tennessee's taking a shit. Like Zach Taylor has dropped down pretty significantly off this list. I think.
Oh,
I don't know,
Sneakazak.
man. I really don't think anybody's doing as
Do you?
good. I
They
don't know.
brought this up on Bill Simmons' pod this week. Do you think that they would ever give Belichick both Executive of the Year and Coach of the Year? Because I don't know, in terms of executive, who's had a better offseason than Belichick. You look at all the free agency signings, whether it's Matthew Judon, who I think he's third in sacks right now, Defensive Player of the Year candidate. You look at you look at the two tight ends, Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry, both playing at high levels and just like very much competent pass catchers for a rookie quarterback. You look at the draft. They've had a great draft. Ramondre Stevenson, that running back who, Damian Harris, shout out Damian Harris on my fantasy team as well. He went down with that hamstring injury, and it was, Stevenson just came in and just kept running with Bolden, and it was like, oh cool, another just
Random
sufficient paid
player.
yeah, another sufficient running back that Bill Belichick has just unearthed. Yeah, no,
I mean, you hit it spot on. There's nobody who's really doing as much, and these guys continue to do it. It was a slow burn. Like, they took one bad year, and they were able to kind of restructure what they were doing, and while keeping a lot of their same players. They got rid of Stephon Gilmore. Like, yeah, they got a 6th-round pick for him, I think, but it was better than nothing what they were going to get, and their defense has probably looked better with him gone.
Yeah, and I haven't heard Stephon Gilmore's name all year.
Yeah, the fact that we're having this conversation, I think, really shows how damn good Bill Belichick is and why he'll be the front runner. I don't know if he'll win both. I mean, that's kind of the same as like Offensive Player of the Year and MVP. Like, theoretically, yeah, it could probably be the same person, but I don't know if they'll ever, ever let that happen. It should.
Yeah,
but probably. I don't know if it will.
One name I'm going to throw at you. And this is just funhouse stuff. Brian Flores. Miami Dolphins have very, very quietly won 5 in a row. Not saying, he's going to get it over Belichick, but just something interesting to watch. When the Dolphins were playing so bad, I was so surprised. But I don't know. I had them as one of my favorite non-contenders when we did our first recording. So it's nice to see them getting their shit off.
Yeah, I mean, spot on. That team is like surprisingly doing well. I think once the trade deadline passed, they got past all of the Deshaun Watson bullshit, right? I think it really made a big difference for this team. I'm happy to see them play well because they were such a disappointment from last year. So I think I'm stoked to see it. I mean, I don't know if I think they've done enough to put him in the conversation. Maybe if they find a way to make the playoffs, not even necessarily win a playoff game, but just get there after how they started. I can see it.
Yeah. No, the thing is, though, if you look at the AFC as a conference, so the Dolphins have won 5 in a row. They're 6-7. And they're 13th in the conference. 13th! Yeah, that's insane.
The AFC's a mess right now. It's so jumbled right there. Like, there's way too much going on. It's going to be stressful. Exactly like last year. It came down to Miami was one of the teams that was so unfortunate. It came down to like 4 or 5 different teams for maybe 3 or 4 different teams, whatever it was, for those last few wild card spots. Yeah. The Dolphins were one of the unlucky teams that missed out on that. But it just shows you how crazy it is, surprisingly, in the AFC. But if they find a way somehow to keep winning, keep putting stuff together like that, I could see it. I could see his name being thrown around.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, we last time we said we threw Sean McDermott in there, and I think after last night's Blizzard watch game, I think that's taken him out of the mix.
He was taken out of the mix after they lost to Jacksonville for me.
Yeah, yep. No, that's fair too. We had talked about the Steelers, but I'm good on that. We had talked about the Washington football team, which another team won 4 in a row, 6-6 in the mix. I don't think Rivera will win it over Belichick, but it's certainly an interesting thought. We had talked about John Gruden. Ha, what a joke. Because the Raiders were like 3-0, 3-1 at this time, and they had beaten the Chiefs.
Oof, that's unfortunate that we did.
Yeah, right. We also we threw in Brandon Staley. We threw in Mike McCarthy. I sadly had Matt Rule. That doesn't look so good, but
jeez,
I know.
It feels like we just filmed this episode and these predictions were very airtight, but not so much.
No, they're not.
Lots changed.
Just real quick, this is completely down a rabbit hole. The Panthers just fired their offensive coordinator, Joe Brady. Mm-hmm. And not only is the timing weird because they did it the Sunday night after a bye, which was like, what the hell? But I also think he never had a chance. You look at his quarterbacks, Teddy Bridgewater, Cam Newton, Sam Darnold. Like, you really think he had a chance to implement a good offense with those quarterbacks? No. So I don't know. I saw that and I was a little confused. So I maybe think he was sniffing around for maybe a college job and somehow was found out. That is my theory. Anyway, moving on. Defensive player of the year. I think there's for me, there's really only 2 right now. What about you? What do you got?
I definitely have 3. I'd like to hear your 2 first.
I think to not include Diggs is just a crime. He was catching ducks from Taysom Hill. Shout out Taysom Hill, except not really. And I think, for me, I had a moment where they showed this graphic and it was like most interceptions for Cowboys through X amount of games. There's a lot of Cowboys that have close or at or above 10, which is, I don't know, kind of jarring to me because I think Xavier Howard last year had 8 interceptions. And I was like, whoa, that's insane. That is man, balled the fuck out. Yeah.
Yeah.
And now Diggs has an opportunity to realistically, he could get to 12 picks. And I think, I don't know. For me, Diggs is number 1 and number 2 is TJ Watt. When the Steelers were missing him, the line plays completely differently. I have the Steelers in fantasy, so I've been witness to that. But he's just a different type of player. And there's stuff that'll come up not in the score sheet that's still just incredible. Like when the Ravens were driving down, he forced a fumble and that sort of made the Ravens kind of stop, pause, and have to recalibrate. And I was just like, little stuff like that where he just gets the ball out and just interrupts a drive. I don't know. For me, it's so hard not to say Diggs because of his interception numbers, but TJ Watt, I think TJ Watt is more valuable than Diggs, to be honest with you.
Yeah, he definitely. I mean, this game definitely saw it. The team took a huge dip overall. That's interesting. I don't even know if I did the first time. I might. I still at this point don't have Trayvon Diggs in my top 3. I definitely agree. You gotta include the guy. Those numbers are ridiculous. Like to get 9 picks this far, 9 picks in any season, 9 picks in the span of 2 seasons is pretty crazy. But to get him, this far in the season, it's awesome. But what's one of the things you hear the most? This guy gets burned a lot. I've seen him get burned. That Cowboys defense get burned a lot. That game against New England, I don't recall if it was before or after our last podcast. I mean, it's just stereotypical. Like, he had a pick six, very next play, he gave up, what, a 40, 50, 60-yard touchdown?
Yeah, no, it's definitely up and down.
It's happened a lot this year, and it's noticeable. That's the only reason why I probably don't think I would put him on the list. I got the top three right now, and I think my first two are tied. And I have a hard time saying this without being biased, but I'm going to justify it. First and foremost, I think Darius Leonard should be in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, TJ Watt. Those are my top two. I think Matthew Judon should be there as well. He's my third. What he's done is pretty impressive.
I did mention Matthew Judon as a Defensive Player of the Year candidate earlier in the pod, and the voters love to give Defensive Player of the Year to an edge player. They love doing that.
Yeah, it's gonna happen, but you still have like TJ Watt has more sacks in less games. You have Myles Garrett who has more sacks than Matthew Judon, but what Matthew Judon's done, you got to, if you look at the overall context, I find very important, very impressive. I don't think anybody thought, even 2 years ago when he got franchised, I thought that was maybe just a one-off season that he had when 2 years ago when he put up, I don't even know how many sacks, it was double digits with the Ravens, and then played well again last year, got a huge contract, and he's playing well on this number one defense in the NFL. I think you got to take that into account. TJ Watt, I mean, you pretty much touched on everything that I would have said. This guy's balling out. He has 16 sacks in how many games? He's missed 2 games this season. He makes a huge difference for that Pittsburgh team because they don't really have much edge presence without him. They got a lot of interior pressure, but nothing really opposite of him. Melvin Ingram didn't work out. So he definitely makes a difference. I think he has a chance to surpass his brother if he can stay on the field a little bit more. Darius Leonard, I mean, what do you think about this guy? He has the most takeaways out of any player in the NFL, more than Diggs. He's got 10 total. This guy has just been all over the field, and he's not even playing 100%. Right? He's got 3 forced fumbles. He's got 5 forced fumbles, 2 interceptions, and 3 recoveries. This guy is just playing ridiculously out of his mind right now. He's always somehow around the ball.
Yeah, so my theory on Darius Leonard is if he was on the Packers or the 49ers, he would be the odds-on favorite for Defensive Player of the Year.
That's fair. That's fair to say.
The only other reason that he is not, well, not even the only other reason, but the only reason that he's not getting this hype is because nobody's watching, And
I think Hard Knocks, I don't know. Have you been watching Hard Knocks in season?
No.
At all? I think that's definitely it was a good strategy by the Colts to kind of bring a little bit more eyes to the team. But I agree, like that's what sucks because this is years and years in a row where this guy's not getting nods to the Pro Bowl. He's been a first-team All-Pro, I think 2 out of the 3 years that he's been in the NFL. If not first team, definitely second team. He's barely getting Pro Bowl nods. It's just how it goes. So I think there's a very slim chance that he would ever get the Defensive Player of the Year award, despite how well he's playing. I mean this, Darius, if you ever hear this, I mean this in the kindest way possible. You are a menace. You are a menace. I mean,
and
right.
And just like, I don't even know how to even quantify it because you can look at the numbers for this year, again, like you said, 2 picks, handful of pass deflections, 5 forced fumbles. Like, those are insane numbers. And, he doesn't have a sack this year. Oh no. Oh, well. But he's close to 100 tackles. He's got some TFLs. I don't know. I think
he's doing it all on a bum ankle. He's had ankle surgery mid-season or right before the season happened. He's banged up and he's still playing that well. But I agree. Like, it's just not enough eyes on it for it to happen. And like you said, too, it's kind of like same thing with, like, the MVP is turning into just an edge rusher.
Yeah. No, seriously.
He led the league in sacks, Defensive Player of the Year.
Yep.
It's kind of how it goes.
Which, like, I'm not going to lie. When Aaron Donald was winning it, it was like, it's Aaron Donald.
That's different. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's acceptable. That was justified.
Yeah, because Aaron Donald is a nightmare. You got any others for Defensive Player of the Year?
Those are my 3.
Yeah, it's sort of, for me, it's the same thing with sort of the same thing with MVP in that, we had a handful and now it's really dwindled. I mean, I guess that's just how it goes, but
I think I remember. I think my lead-on favorite or my hands-on favorite was Vita Vea, if I remember correctly. And he's still playing phenomenal.
mhm.
Just a little time, and you saw the difference that defense had with stopping the run.
Y'all knocked his tooth out.
Knocked his teeth out, and he was just laughing and still playing through it. I think he's still playing phenomenal. I think he could. I think it'd be very hard for him to win it. The fact that I even just forgot that I mentioned it, I think that just kind of further proves why it'll. I mean, he's the same, roughly, not really, kind of the same position as Aaron Donald, but they do totally different things. I think it'd be very hard for him to get a nod.
Yeah, for sure. He's much closer to, like, in terms of what he does, like a supercharged Leonard Williams, I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, before we had Myles Garrett. Like, yeah, definitely deserving, but I don't know. Cleveland is so weird this year. And I know Baker's dealing with a lot of injuries, but Cleveland is so weird this year. I don't know what to think of Cleveland. Anyway, we had Von Miller, lol. Javon Hargrave, all right, fine. Max Crosby, all right, fine. But
Max Crosby actually should. I think he should actually be up there as well. I think he's not getting the sack, so that might take some eyes off of it. But the amount of pressures that guy and hurries he's getting by himself. I mean,
and he's getting double teamed.
He's getting double teamed. He's getting held. I think there was one of the plays that happened this past weekend. They were grabbing him by the face, and he still somehow found a way to break through, only to get called for roughing the passer. You hate to see it.
If that's not the modern state of the NFL.
It's horrible.
You got any other shout outs before we move on to Offensive Player of the Year?
Let's go. Let's move on.
All right, bet. So OPOY, I think the quarterbacks we mentioned, I think it's easy. If Brady somehow doesn't win MVP, I think it would be ridiculous to not have him in Offensive Player of the Year. Derrick Henry, before he got injured, was killing it. I think right now, number one is probably Cooper Kupp for me. Yeah. I'm definitely biased on my fantasy team, but I don't know. He and Matthew Stafford just seem to have really, really gelled, and it's really cool to see because they seem to use his skills of like he's not a burner, but his agility is really impressive, I'll say. In that, he makes these really quick cuts. He's a fantastic route runner. And his route tree is also really, really diverse. And I think that has just really helped Matthew Stafford just sort of get into the McVay offense. Who's your number one right now?
My number one is Cooper Kupp. I think it's kind of the same thing where typically it seems like the runoff is whoever just misses out on the MVP vote. And so since there's a good chance that MVP vote is going to go to a quarterback like Tom Brady, if that happens, Jonathan Taylor's got to be the front runner for what he's putting up. But ideally, because Cooper Kupp's not going to be in the MVP conversation.
No.
He's playing. He's playing his ass off. I really like watching that guy play, and he's just leading everybody by so much in the categories. I guess Justin Jefferson's kind of catching him now. Those two are kind of pushing their way up. I think he's for sure got to be the odds-on favorite. I don't particularly see a quarterback winning it. Then again, it could same thing for what I said about Jonathan Taylor. If it flip-flops and Brady.
On FanDuel, he's actually I literally just looked it up. He is actually not the odds-on favorite.
Cooper Kupp isn't?
Cooper Kupp is not.
Who is? Let me see. Hold on.
You're gonna be annoyed. I'm not gonna lie. Well, not annoyed. You're gonna be annoyed that you didn't get it.
Who is it?
It's your good man,
Jonathan Taylor. Yeah,
plus,
like I said, it's probably because his odds to win MVP aren't there. So I see that it'll probably happen.
He's been a menace, and there always needs to be like that one game where you point in there and you're like, oh, this is, when they pop the fuck off. And he has a 5 touchdown game, so I think he's actually pretty set. Yeah.
I'd be happy. Don't get me wrong, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
hoping for more. Hoping he somehow pushes through and like gets the award above that, because I definitely think he's by far the best offensive player in the league right now, and I think
Mm-hmm.
he's kind of at times shown he's been, in my opinion, probably the best player. Like, has the most value to his team, and a lot of times where the Colts themselves have held him back, but he's breaking records left and right. Like, he passed Edgerrin James, Marshall Faulk, Eric Dickerson, and Lenny Moore. He's tied with Lenny Moore now. Like three Hall of Fame running backs for the Colts for the most touchdowns through X amount of games. And
Pretty
we still
good.
have so many games left. Like, he could realistically reach 2,000 total yards, 20 plus touchdowns easily.
Oh yeah.
And that's, he wasn't even touching the ball. Like, he barely passed Derrick Henry this past week, because Jonathan Taylor had 34 carries last week. He barely passed Derrick Henry for the amount of carries. And Derrick Henry's been out how many weeks? 2, 3? Like, that guy touched the ball so much. It just goes to show you.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. Yeah, actually, I'm gonna change my pick. Jonathan Taylor, number 1 for OPOY.
What about any surprises?
I think the fact that Deebo Samuel has sort of not necessarily remained in the conversation, but the fact that he's still putting up numbers for me is really impressive.
I agree. That was my surprise as well.
Maybe not a surprise, but Justin Jefferson. If Justin Jefferson were to win Offensive Player of the Year with Kirk Cousins as his quarterback, I mean, I don't even know. That's just really impressive.
Just like I've never understood the Kirk Cousins slander. I'll be honest with you. The guy's balling this year. He's playing phenomenal.
For sure.
It's Kirk Cousins, but the dude's putting up numbers.
There's just like, for me, there's something in my head where I see Kirk Cousins throw for like 300 yards and, 3 touchdowns. And then the next week, he's lining up under his guard on a goal line 4th down in like late in the 4th quarter. And I'm like, oh, well, there you go, Kirk Cousins. I don't know. Something I relate to heavily is when it's like a video of Kirk Cousins at his kid's gender reveal, and he like it was a little football that he had to throw, and the football shatters, and there's like smoke inside, and he was supposed to hit this target, and he almost misses the target, which was like 3 yards away. It was like
somebody who's done a gender reveal, who's had one when we did it for my boy. It was something simple. It's nerve-wracking, man.
I'm sure.
Get the guys. I've seen the video. I know exactly what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's fair.
You got any surprises?
Debo was one of mine as well. I think now that he's missing some time, I don't think there's a chance he'll fall in line with it. I mean, he already has over 1,000 receiving yards lining up at running back, which I think is kind of stupid, but he's putting up some numbers at running back, 5 rushing touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, the guy's playing impressive.
Oh, speaking of surprises, probably not going to win Offensive Player of the Year, but Cordell Patterson? The resurrection?
I wouldn't be upset if he should be in the conversation, but I wouldn't even be upset if he won it. They finally a team found a way to utilize that guy.
Yeah, I remember against the Saints when he was on the Bears, he had like a 109 or like a really long kickoff return, and I was like, damn, this dude can fly. What's going on? Why is he not used?
He's always like shown flashes anywhere he's been.
Yeah.
Like the Bears, the Patriots, the Vikings, like he's always had decent ability and like always had flashes, but no one ever really strictly used him. I know there was a lot of talk that he should be used how he's being used now, like in that running back position. And like, dude, he's balling out.
No, seriously. And again, you look at I think you're right. You look at the teams he was on: Minnesota, Oakland, the Patriots, the Bears, and none of these teams were able to like really get him going. And I don't know. It's cool to see, even though I'm not a big Falcons guy, but for him to have a career high in touchdowns when the season's not even over yet, and lining up at running back, that's cool.
And he's getting like 15 plus carries a game. Like he's showing that he could do it.
Yeah, he's not a gimmick running back.
No.
Moving on from Offensive Player of the Year. We had this last time where we said coaches to be fired. And while John Gruden resigned, I guess you could look at that for being fired, but no one's technically been fired yet. And I think our picks, besides one of mine that I'm looking at now from then, I think they actually still hold up. So for me, Pete Carroll, I think he's not number one on the chopping block, but I think this season is a disaster, and you don't have your first round pick, and Russ is gone this offseason, right?
Yeah,
he has to be. He has to be. And his play calling is just so antiquated. Like, I know they just beat the 49ers and they had a really cool fake punt and I don't know. But they were dying to give that game away. I was very, very closely watching that game because I stupidly bet on Jimmy Garoppolo, which is I need to not do that. I have betting rules, like don't bet against Patrick Mahomes. Watch out for the Patriots past November, blah blah blah. But like this is one rule I just need to incorporate in my life now. Just don't bet on Jimmy Garoppolo. Anyway, who's a coach you think is going to be fired? By the way, side note, we do not wish anyone loses their job. We are simply creating content.
That's good. That's good. Good to preface that. I think there's one guy who's going to get fired. I don't think he's going to get fired. I think Matt Nagy's gone.
He's
all but gone.
How has he not been fired yet?
Here's the weird thing. I have like my own personal conspiracy because there was the whole report that he was going to get fired after the Thanksgiving game, which that report was weird in general. Like, who announces, hey, you're going to get fired after this game? And I think that kind of brought up a huge shitstorm, and I really think they kind of backtracked because it was just weird. And then they won that game. Granted, they beat Detroit. I think they kind of backtracked a little bit, but I don't know. I think he's stunted the growth of that team so poorly. And
oh my God,
they have a little bit of hope with Justin Fields, but I mean, just the whole kerfuffle with all their quarterbacks last year. The fact that Nick Foles is still on that roster as a third stringer, and they brought in Andy Dalton and left him, immediately branded him QB1, and it just hasn't turned out. They fumbled Allen Robinson the last 2-3 years. It's just not a good situation. He's 100% not going to make it.
Yeah, I really think the Bears need to just, maybe not the roster, but at least, on the management and the coaching side of things, they really need to clean house. Everyone. Like, Ryan Pace should have been fired 3 years ago for, once it was clear that Mitchell Trubisky was dog water and Deshaun Watson and, Patrick Mahomes were literally the next generation of quarterbacks. But I don't know how he stayed along. The McCagskys, I don't know. They must have photos or emails or some shit like that.
I mean, I think every now and then that trade alone to get Mitchell Trubisky was one of the worst things I've ever seen. Like the fact that they traded up
one slot.
That made no sense to me. It never made sense to me. So
I
don't know.
No, it's seriously like that is a historic all-time fuck up in my opinion.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on.
And the 49ers also fucked up the pick that they got after that. So, to be
That's
fair.
true. What did they took Solomon Thomas. Ha. Ha, 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 ha,
He's
ha.
not playing bad. He's not playing bad now, but he's not playing for the 49ers.
No, but I think if you were to ask some Niners fans, would you rather have Deshaun Watson or Jimmy Garoppolo? I think there'd be a pretty easy answer. Well, maybe not this season. I don't know.
Yeah, hindsight.
Coming back, Mike Zimmer. I know I have pooped on Kirk Cousins today, but and I know this has already been picked apart by the national media and all that. But if you go back and you watch that final drive for Detroit and the way they defended them, which was like, okay, we're going to go prevent and then we're kind of just going to shit ourselves. This isn't, you're not going against Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady. This is Jared Goff. I couldn't tell you a receiver on Detroit besides Josh Reynolds. Can you?
I'm on Ross St. Brown.
You did. You're right. And there's also there's the Hawk. Can't forget about the Hawk, T.J. Hawkinson, 9th overall pick. Mm-hmm. Love how that's turned out. Yeah, I don't know. I think Mike Zimmer. Yeah, they're banged up, but with that offense, I think the Vikings should be a lot better. I think he's maybe lost part of the locker room, and I think game plan wise, he's fallen off. I used to think Mike Zimmer was a great coach, and maybe he still is, but I think this Viking thing is rode on for far too long.
Yeah, that team just really hasn't progressed. Because how long has Mike Zimmer been there? Since 2014, 15? Something along those lines. I'd have to look into it.
Whatever the year was when they missed that PA. Well, it wasn't a PAT, but the really short field goal against Seattle.
Doink, or not the double doink. It was who missed it. I know what you're talking about. I can't think of the guy's name, but I know exactly who you're talking about.
Not Dan Bailey.
Dan Bailey came in after the fact. It's gonna bother me.
I got you. Look, I'll look it up. You tell me. You tell me what your opinions are on that.
Yeah. No, anyway, he's been there long enough. This team has only made the playoffs a handful of times. The roster is really kind of. It's not bad. They should be way better than they are, but they're just not. They're underwhelming for far too long. I think he's a fantastic defensive coordinator, but I just don't. Yeah, I agree. I think after this year, it's going to be time to move on. To kind of circle back to what you first said, I think I don't think there's any way in hell that Pete Carroll's going anywhere.
Oh no, he has his contract is through 2025.
Yeah, he's stuck there.
Yeah,
and despite how dumb that is, he's stuck there for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that I don't know if any coach has rode longer on a Super Bowl win than Pete Carroll. Maybe maybe you could throw Sean Payton into that mix, maybe, but Sean Payton is still getting it done. Sans these last 5 weeks. Also,
the first losing season that the Seahawks have had, though. Granted, they're not constantly being fantastic anymore like they were back in 2013, 2014. But they're still playing. They're still playing pretty decent. This is the first year that they've been dog shit terrible. I think they're pretty bad with their pick management, whether they're trading picks away or they're.
Oh, the Jamal Adams trade! Jesus Christ!
Dude got his first pick. Had to give him some credit for that. But I think it's definitely not gone the way that they needed to. But I think, the dude's 70 years old. He's got another 5 years on his contract, or 4 years, I guess. He's stuck there for a while.
Yeah, no, for sure. And Blair Walsh, that was the kicker. Yeah, I stupidly typed in Vikings kicker missed field goal, and I was like, no, I need to type in versus Seahawks. I'm gonna get too many results.
More specific than that.
Yeah.
Poor Vikings fans.
Another coach I had, but I probably don't agree with anymore. I said Arthur Smith. I just thought the Falcons looked really, really terrible those first 4 weeks, but
They still don't. They still don't look great, but
yeah, they don't look great. But they've had some interesting wins, and they seem to always be within like 2 scores.
yeah,
So I don't know. I'm taking him off my chopping block, I'll say.
yeah, I agree. And maybe it's just like a personal thing because I know it happens. But I think if a coach, you got to give him, I think you give him 2.5, 3 years minimum to let them flip it around.
Yeah.
I think if you fire a coach after 1 year, you're really gonna get into like a horrible cycle of just not finding anybody consistent, and you'll really fuck up your team.
I'm gonna throw 2 more names at you. Let me know what you think. Joe Judge and Vic Fangio. What are your thoughts?
Joe Judge is gone. Actually, no, both of them are gone. I mean, the coaches get fired. I think Vic Fangio is so out of touch. Like the Broncos, like the shit that they're doing, they're playing okay despite not having a great quarterback. They're putting up these numbers that like I forgot what the exact stat was, and I wish I had it in front of me, but they were the 28th team to do it this year, whatever the stat was. You're just going to have to believe me because I don't have the full stat in front of me. But they were the 28th team to do it this year, and all other 27 teams won their games. And I wish I had the fucking stat in front of me, but just believe me. You have
I got you.
Imagination. And it just goes to show like how bad it's been. Like I used to think Pat Shermer could have been good, and I think he had a shit tenure with the Browns, and I think he could have been okay with the Giants. That was not right. He should not be calling offensive plays. Like they're horrible offensive.
No.
They're squandering their defensive potential right now. I think he's gone. He's way past his prime. He's one of the older coaches in the NFL. I think he went a very long time without getting any head coaching options. Again, because of that, he's gone. Joe Judge, he's gone too. That New York team's got to be gutted as well. Daniel Jones, Saquon, they're all gone.
Yeah. You know, you look at Dave Gettleman and the moves he's made, whether it's been through the draft, trading OBJ, whatever. That has not worked out in the slightest. And the Giants have been truly terrible for what feels like the past 5 years.
Horrible.
Horrible.
It's not good. I think that both those teams are not going to be headed in a good direction.
No way. You know, it kind of sucks that we have to include Vic Fangio because the Broncos are 500. Like,
yeah, but I genuinely think that they'd be better off without.
Oh, I completely agree with you. It's so weird. It's so weird. And you kind of got to wonder, like, what would this team look like if they took, Mac Jones instead of Surtain? Like, what does this team look like?
Did they not? Or Justin Fields? They had a chance to get Justin Fields.
They had a chance to get Fields, yeah.
Patrick Surtain has been great.
He's 100% been fantastic.
I don't even think quarterback's the biggest issue. I think they could get by if they had a better. I think a better play calling. I mean, I know they're dealing with some injuries up front, but like their running game has been surprisingly okay. Javonte Williams,
a beast,
phenomenal.
Fantasy wise, he's a menace.
Yeah, they have a fucking great trio. I just think, I don't know. It's weird. Like they go so long. They took them so long to score any points in the first half. And Fangio just came out and said, well, sometimes teams just don't score in the first half. Like, no, asshole, that's just you.
Dog, like, come on now.
I think he's out of touch. He's an older coach, too. And I think the tide is, like, somewhat starting to turn. The trend, at least, is going towards the younger guys because I think it just kind of shows that that's what connects a little bit more.
So
I'm pissed I can't find that stat.
No, it's all good.
The Broncos.
Moving on from coaches to be departed. So last time we had fakest 3-1 teams, and I said Bengals and Broncos. Now, tough to say if those teams were necessarily fake because the Bengals are 7-5 and in the playoffs, but you look at a game like this past weekend where they're going against a sort of similar talent level and they shrink. And I know Burrow had a pinky injury, so whatever. But and it's
already over.
yeah,
At that point.
and I don't know. It's very interesting to me that I viewed these teams as fake, and while their record will say one thing, I'm still sus of them, for sure.
Yeah, the Bengals, they had a weird little stretch. Like, Jamar Chase has really dropped off. I know he's still pushing 1,000 yards, but I mean that interception, that dropped pass that led to an interception was horrible.
He batted it up. That was an 80-yard touchdown.
Oh my god! So that was bad. But the Bengals, they're a weird team right now. They're so weird. They got their asses kicked to them, but then just before that, they kicked the Steelers' asses. They kicked the Raiders' asses, and they got their asses kicked by the Browns. They're not consistent. I don't know if they're fake. I just don't think that they're good enough to hang. I think they have a good chance of making the playoffs, but I don't really see them having the ability to do much with it. If that makes sense.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. Yeah. And in a similar category, favorite non-contenders for any reason. This is funny because this has actually stayed consistent. Dolphins, Jags, Saints, and Jets. All teams not necessarily contenders, but still kind of fun to watch.
I really do like watching the Dolphins, and they're kind of pushing their way up there. The Saints, yeah, I like seeing the variety of quarterback. I guess I'll leave it there.
I mean,
you guys come through
and my dear Saints. We haven't won a game since Halloween. Ever since James. That was the Tampa game when they oh, I was so excited. And we haven't won a game since, lost 5 in a row. Granted, we have been injured to hell and back. Our only wideout who can be considered a threat, Deontay Harris, just got suspended 3 games for a DUI this last summer, and our defensive captain Cam Jordan just went on the COVID list. So it's not going to get much easier. And sadly, they are visiting the New York Jets this weekend, and my dumbass is going to sit in the cold and watch my team be embarrassing.
No. If you're going to go to a game, that's your best chance. That's your best spot to go to be honest with you.
Oh, I'm well aware, but I have no expectations going into this.
That's good.
Yeah, we before we wrap up, you got anything else you want to throw in there?
No, man. It's hard to kind of predict it. I haven't revisited our podcast since we did it, so I'm still pretty surprised by how much stuff has changed. It's been one of the weird seasons where teams can pop off and flip and lose to shitty teams as long as I can remember. It's been fun though. It's really been fun watching.
It's definitely been a fun season. Do you possibly have a pick that you want to throw on for next week that's your favorite?
Ooh, I have to look at it. I do the Survivor League. I got knocked out a couple years ago. You literally only pick one team a week to win it, and then you can buy back in until week 10. And I picked the Ravens before Lamar got sick, so I was so stressed about that game. And then I picked Philly against the Giants, so I'm super stressed. But I'll make the game if I'm still in it. Like one lock for next week.
Yeah.
Jesus, I don't even know. These games have been hard. I guess I'd probably lock in the Broncos or the Packers, actually.
Both solid picks. Yeah, Packers against the Bears, that's the easy pick. And what? Yeah, Broncos, who are they playing? They're playing the Jags, right? Oh, they're playing Detroit. Might as well be playing the Jags. For me personally, Chiefs, they're 9.5-point favorites over the Raiders. Run that shit up. I'm giving that out for free, as our as national media would say. I'm giving this one out. Patrick Mahomes, yo.
I don't bet on division games. I try. That's what you have your little, rules. That's
Oh,
when I do locks. I try not to do division games.
That's a good one. I might have to incorporate that depending on how this goes.
Because you never know. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? Like it's
division games are so weird.
So weird. I want to revisit this. I have a feeling like the Oakland Raiders at the Las Vegas Raiders. Bit of a decent game. What's the spread on that? 9.5.
9.5.
Hold on. If we're going against the spread, I think I'd probably honestly pick. I might pick the Raiders.
The Bears?
No, the Raiders.
Oh, the Raiders. Oh, wow. All right. Hey, you know what? Something to talk about then.
All right, we'll revisit this.
Sounds good. One last point. I think it is hilarious that Derrick Henry is injured. The Titans wideouts are injured to hell. Ryan Tannehill seems to be in Gase mode, and they are still 9.5-point favorites against the Jacksonville Jaguars.
They're gonna lose that game too. Mark my words.
Oh shit! You heard it here, folks. Not even against the folks, just straight. I might take your advice and sprinkle a little money line on that.
Dude, they've just been so bad. They lost to Houston a couple weeks ago. They're not a good team. They're not a good team, and I'm gonna love to see them lose to Jacksonville.
That will be very entertaining. Anyway, we got to get out of here. But AJ, thank you so much for joining me today. I think we'll probably do this once more before Wild Card Weekend, just so we can reestablish, and then we'll figure it out from there.
Sounds good, Colin. Appreciate you having me, man.
Appreciate you, man. You enjoy your week. Yeah. I don't know what to say there.
We'll see you next time.
And that has been this episode of the Plan C podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you're not already, make sure you're following on Instagram, following on Twitter. Hit us up there if you have any questions. If you want some stickers, hit us up. We're there. Make sure you're following us on Spotify. Make sure you're following us on Apple, on YouTube. You're subscribed. We stream there every Friday. We have all our podcasts go there. And hope you're staying safe. And have a good holiday. Peace, guys.